always got to be a good feeling when, opening day about, 3 weeks away now?
Yep.
What is kind of the feeling in the locker room right now?
Yeah, everybody's really excited. I mean, there's always a lot of energy on that first day. This is kind of the first time it really feels like the season's around the corner. So everyone's excited. We're excited to get outside. Just a good opportunity for us. So.
Lost some key pieces from last year's team. How do you guys kind of fill those gaps that they leave behind this year?
Yeah, I mean, Al Roden, Dylan Tabrock, probably the guys you're thinking of. We brought in a lot of really good transfers, good freshman talent too, newcomers. So I think we're really excited. We've got more depth than we've had the last couple of years. So.
What is it like in this era where you do often have a lot more transfers coming in maybe than in the past and trying to, mesh with those guys maybe on a shorter window than you would, freshman recruits or stuff like that?
Yeah, it's different because they come from different programs, right? So they've done things another way. But it's good too because, you can kind of rebuild. It's easier to rebuild. You don't have to start with these freshmen or maybe JUCO guys. So, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you get older players. So we're excited.
You had a good year last year. How do you hope to build on it this year?
Yeah, just working hard, trying to do the same stuff. Excited to hopefully have a bigger role and just want to keep getting better. That's my goal.
What do you think of the conference this year?
It's going to be good. It's kind of always pretty competitive. UConn and Xavier are the two teams that kind of pop out. We've had some trouble with them the last couple of years, so we got to figure out UConn. And same thing with Xavier, but year in and year out, it's always competitive. So
internally, what kind of expectations do you guys have for yourselves this season?
Our goal is to win the Big East. That's always our goal. You got to win the Big East. We hope to win the regular season, and then you got to go to the tournament and get it done. We didn't get off to as good of a start last year as we wanted, so that's a big priority for us this year. It's tough to win that tournament at the end of the year, so we want to give ourselves a chance to get into the NCAA tournament.
Is there any kind of player who maybe flew under the radar last season that you feel is going to kind of take that next step to a bigger role this year?
Yeah, I think there could be a couple, but one that comes to mind, Ben North, who was injured a lot last year. He's looked really good this fall and in our individual work in the spring, so we're really excited for him. He's really talented.
What do you like about this time of year? No games, just practice.
Yeah, it's a good time just to keep getting better. You only have 3 weeks. It's kind of crazy. It's the same for obviously all of Division I baseball, but we got to go out there and we got to get a lot done in 3 weeks because we open up 3 weeks from today at a really good McNeese State team.
Does that make every practice that much more focused and driven, knowing that it's such a small window and you guys need to get so much done before you play that first game?
For sure. It's kind of weird because sometimes the 3 weeks feels like it goes on forever because everyone's ready to go, wants to go play games, get on the flight. But yes, what we got to do is we got to keep reminding our guys that, how important this 3 weeks is.
I think last season you guys kind of got off to a slower start. How much is that a focus to, maybe get off on more of a front foot this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially playing in a mid-major school, you got to win a lot of games if you want to get that automatic bid, or not the automatic, the at-large bid. We went out to Portland last year and lost 4 games in a row. So it's a big priority for us.
Tommy, you obviously individually had a great year last year. How do you kind of build on that, and how do you kind of carry that momentum into this season?
Yeah, last year was great. Obviously I had my own success, but I obviously wish there'd be more to that with the team, and just building on that is just the depth that we have this year, and just knowing that even if I do find struggles this year, that there's Paul Bergstrom, Dan Hammond, Mark Lidd. I could name some freshmen, some transfers. There's so many guys in our bullpen that can back me up if I have my trouble. And just having that success will just be continuing what I do and just going out there and throwing strikes and trusting my defense. We have one of the best defenses in the country, and that's year in and year out. And we obviously had a couple games last year, like Nebraska, where we had 5 errors, but we got our defense, and that's what we're known for, and I'm going to trust them no matter what.
You bring up depth. How would you kind of compare your pitching depth heading into this season compared to last?
So last year, we had Dylan at the front end Friday, always trustworthy. He got 6-7 innings out of him at the least. And this year we got 4 or 5 different starters, and could have 6 or 7 that we could throw out there, including midweeks. And just our bullpen, including freshmen, we got Mason Coe, a couple other guys, they can go out there and get the job done. Tommy Lamb go out there and do what he does. it's not going to be dependent on Paul Bergstrom or myself to go out there and throw 60 innings this year. We could throw 30, and we'd have 6 guys throw 30 innings and be a very good bullpen.
You kind of expect your role to be kind of the same or similar to last year, where you could come in and throw 3 or 4 innings if needed, or
Yeah.
you could just throw the 9.
I think how Coach sees it with me is kind of like Paul setting it up and then me going 1 or 2 innings, and then if need be doing the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, the 7th, 8th, 9th. Like, I've always been kind of like a starter mentality, so just having that multiple innings to like get going is kind of something what I feel comfortable with. And so either that or just closing the 9th is, I mean, how I see it is if we win and I'm in there, that's what I want to do and put me in that job. And I think that's how most of our guys on the staff see it as. Yes.
1.62 ERA last year, I think it was. Like, how hard is that going to be to match, you know, this season?
Yeah, I mean, the craziest thing to me is just growing up in Omaha and just, you know, Pat Vendetti, and then seeing my name up ahead of his it's mind-blowing to me. So I don't know how I'll compete with it, but I'm going to try, and I'm going to give it my best effort. I mean, this is my 6th and final year. We got so many older guys on the team. We really want to win the Big East this year and go back to what we did in 2019 and make it to the tournament. That's going to be the goal right there.
It's cool.
Yeah.
What do you feel like these next 3 weeks are all about?
Ooh. Well, Coach always preached in the fall, and right now especially just like teaching the guys how to practice. And like, I think in the fall most of the newer guys have learned how to practice, and this year is just putting that mentality into focus on going ahead and putting our head down and focusing on McNeese State and just practicing as hard as we can every single day.
It seemed like it took you guys a little bit to get in your groove last season. What do you have to do differently to kind of get off to, you know, a better start, and how important is that for setting you up the rest of the way?
Ooh, I mean, there's so many different routes we could say about how we need to go about winning the first 3 games this year in McNeese. Obviously, Portland was trying to wipe that out of my mind. That was a crazy weekend. We were just not. We weren't like all there together. I wouldn't say prepared, but because we were prepared, we just weren't focused on the games at hand. And I think this year there's a sense of a senior leadership to be like, hey, we got to go down there, get the job done. McNeese is a real good team. They run the bases. They're going to be putting pressure on us defensively. So we need to go down there, throw strikes, get the hitters accustomed. Hopefully it'll be warm down there because Portland wasn't that warm. So we're hoping maybe that warmer weather cheers us up a little bit and we have that focus to win a series down there, hopefully.
What's the excitement level like, knowing that, you know, we're here and it's only 3 weeks away and practice begins?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you start in August and it's like, wow, we got a long time until the season starts, and then you got so many older guys on the team like, oh, this is our last conditioning, this is our last fall practice, last lift or whatever. The excitement is bubbling down there. They're having a good time in the locker room, and these 3 weeks, I hope go by quick, but I think they'll be a little long just because we're all super excited and we're ready to get it going, ready to compete.
Offensively, do you think you guys, from what you've seen, have the bats to kind of replace losing guys like Roden and Wagner?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to replace those two. Those are two of one of the better players I've ever played with, and we got Ben Gabur, Jack Grace. I mean, Nolan Sailors has impressed. Ben North, Kyle Hess has looked great. I mean, we have a deep lineup. I mean, we probably have 15 guys we could go out there and play defensively for us and swing it pretty well. So I think if we play a team game of hitting instead of a sole focused on home runs and all that, I think we can put up our 5 runs a game and we can win a lot of games.
Well, obviously we're going to have a chance to get outside today. That's not a normal thing. First day of practice. Now we're not going to be outside for very long. We won't be outside this weekend, obviously, with the cold weather coming in, but it's always nice when you have an opportunity to get outside. There's no guarantees that you'll get that when you're a northern team. So I think the players are ready. We've had a couple weeks of these small workouts. They want to get into a team situation. So today's a good day, and it's hard to believe, but we got a game in 3 weeks, so we got to kind of sprint here. these next 3 weeks to see what we can get accomplished.
And what's got to change these next 3 weeks compared to last season to get off to a faster start than
Yeah.
what happened in Portland?
Well, last year, if you recall, it was a strange year in many ways. You know, our fall got disrupted. We came back, and we're still kind of trying to work through some of the things that took place in the fall. You know, we had a normal fall this year, if there is such a thing. The weather cooperated. We had a chance to evaluate a lot of our players. We have a lot more depth this year. We have an older club. So I'm counting on those things to help us maybe get over some of the issues with, you know, maybe not being outside as much as we'd like and have opportunities to scrimmage maybe as much as we would like before the first game. So I'm banking on those experienced guys. We've talked about the starter last season just briefly. They know that that wasn't who we were, you know, but it would be nice to get off to a little quicker start, and that's the goal.
How does practice look different when you are outside? What are some of the things you can get after that you can't do inside?
Well, you can put more of your team concepts together. Like today, we'll spend some time on cuts and relays. You don't have an opportunity to do that in our indoor facility. It's not big enough. So your outfielders really get neglected when we're indoors. We can do a lot of what we want to do with our infielders, and our pitchers obviously can prepare, and our catchers and so on. But sometimes that cuts and relays, fly ball priority, some of those things that we think we take for granted at times, but you know, we put a lot of pride in that because we kind of hang our hat on defense, and when you're not outside, it's hard to you can talk about it all you want, but you gotta, you know, baseball's a game of reps. You know, you gotta get your reps in, and it's hard to do when you're indoors.
Yeah, I mean, you lose really quality guys like Allen, Dylan, and Jared. Are you just counting on your depth to kind of overcome those losses?
This will be a different team because we won't have like a per se Friday guy like we've had in the past. You know, we could count on Dylan last year to go anywhere from 6 to 8 innings once he got into baseball shape. We're going to have to take a little bit different route to our pitching this year. I like our depth. I think we have more depth than any other team I've ever had. So we're going to be able to use that depth to our advantage. Offensively, it'll be a little different lineup too because Allen would set the tone for the lineup. When you have a guy who hits like Allen, you work around him. You decide who's going to hit in front of Allen, who's going to hit behind Allen. Well, I like the length of our lineup, if that makes sense. I think we have 9 or 10 tough outs this year. And we have opportunity, if we do lose a guy to injury, which happened last year, none of us want to see that happen, I think we can fill in with a guy that's not going to be a big drop-off. So it's a different team that way, where we don't maybe have a high draft choice like we had in Allen sitting on the club this year, but we have a lot of good players. And it reminds me of some of the teams I had early on, when we just had a bunch of really good baseball players that understood how to play the game. This is a talented group. I'm not convinced they know how to play baseball yet, and that's my job, is to teach them how to do that. But they're talented. They have some skill. I just got to help them along the way, if they will allow that to happen.
Thomas Dyer obviously had a great season last year for you guys. What's kind of the next step up in his progression?
Well, boy, I tell you what, it's comforting to have a guy at the back end who's been there so many times, you know, and Tom has so many different angles. He's so tough to hit off of because the hitter doesn't know if he's coming from underneath, if he's coming over the top, if he's going to turn a little bit more, if he's going to quick pitch him. And he's really figured out the art of pitching. It's about deception more than it is about power. And this generation is so hung up on power that they forgot it's about deception. And Tom is kind of a throwback in that way. So it's nice, it's comforting. You know, he's got length to him. We could use him as early as the 6th inning and he could complete a game. He even started a game last year. I know if Tom had his druthers, he would want to start. But I've convinced him that I need him in 30 games rather than 15. And he's a team guy. And I just love his competitiveness. He's got to make sure he uses that and channels it the right way. But I love his competitiveness, and it's just nice to know we got a guy that we believe in at the end of a game. And I think we got more than one now. We got some other guys that our bullpen really should be the way we like. We're going to have 6 guys out there. I like to use 6 guys in a bullpen. I like to have good matchups when we get into the second half of the game.
A lot of these offensively, you looking to run the bases more than he did, say, last year?
We need to be more of an action team, you're right. We need to. We kind of would rely on, you know, Jared, who had tremendous power, and Alan had power. So we're going to have to be a little bit more creative. I do like to hit and run. We haven't probably hit and run as much the last couple of years because we relied a little bit more on the type of player we had on the roster at that time. This roster is a little bit more athletic, so we need to use that in both the bunt game and the hit and run game and the straight steal game, and to try to create some opportunities, because I just don't think we're going to hit a lot of home runs. And that's okay. I know the players would prefer to hit home runs, but I just want to score runs. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. So we've tried to impress upon them it's important for us to be an action team. So we'll see if we can do it or not. You know, you can talk all you want about being an action team, but you got to be able to execute. So we've been working hard on, you know, trying to get them to understand the hit and run, the run and hit, the bunt for base hit, put some pressure on the defense. We probably haven't done that as well the last couple of years.
Is there a different energy, not the first day of preseason today? You sense
Well, there's hope, you know. There's hope for all of us. Every college team that's opening up today, all Division I teams have the same goal. They have hope, you know, whether it's to win their conference, whether it's to finish in the top half of the conference, whether it's to get to a regional. I mean, they all have hope. And so that's cool. You know, and by the middle of the season, some teams don't have hope anymore. And you see a whole different personality enter the field in those situations. But yeah, there's nothing like that first practice. Even today, even though it's cold out, it's cool out, the players won't say a word. They'll be anxious to get out there. Many of them will wear, you know, they won't even have sleeves on. And they'll just be like, hey, this is what we've been waiting for. You know, we came back to school here in late August for January 27th for the start of it. You can talk all you want in the fall, but today they know that it's real. There'll be a different level of intensity in practice. There'll be a different level of accountability in practice, knowing that we're only 3 weeks away.
Nolan Saylor's kind of jumped into a starting role last year based on almost more necessity than probably what you were planning on getting him in that early, and kind of took to it pretty well. Do you anticipate him kind of taking an even bigger step this year, having all that experience under his belt from last year?
I was really impressed with Nolan last year. You got to remember, he's an infielder coming from high school. We had a little bit of a shortage in outfielder. We lost a couple outfielders due to injury. We needed to move him out there. I was very cautious in that. I was like, this may not work. We're asking him to do too much as a freshman. We like to bring our freshmen along a little slower and not give him a major role right out of the bat. But we put him out there, and within a matter of a day or two, it looked natural for him. And then all of us, not only did he play outfield, he played center field, which is a really complicated position to play in our system. So I was real happy. He's a great kid. He's got a chance to be a really good player. He's a dynamic offensive player. He can run, he can hit with power. He's only going to get better. He's got great work ethic. He's a good teammate. There's really nothing about Nolan that I would change. I'm really anxious to see the development. It's really cool to see these guys come in as freshmen and get their feet wet a little bit. And then now he becomes a veteran player, even though he's only a sophomore. And let's see what he can do. But he's going to get pitched differently too now. So Nolan's going to have to make some adjustments, but I think he's open to that. I mean, he's just a great young man, and we're lucky to have him.